So I trained as a chartered accountant at PwC, went into investment banking on honestly a fortune, big six-figure numbers. But one thing I realised relatively early on, I know it's a cliche, but the goal's never been to exit. It's not to have that big malt number at the end. It's about ultimately enjoying the process, enjoying the journey.
Hi everybody. So what we're going to be talking about today is the brand as a whole. Because you're probably wondering what the story is. Why do we have so many ventures? And why do we have so many different companies? What makes it work and why are we coming up with so many ideas? A lot of people, when they think of it, they're going to be like, okay, so diversified, right? So here's the best person to answer that question because he is the reason for all these ideas and he's the reason here. So Arun, let me ask you a very honest question.
Hi, Pradeep. Yeah, go for it.
When you started this company on your dad's coffee table,
Dining table. Yeah.
Did you ever think that this would be what it was 25 years later?
No, not at all. But honestly, when I started out 25 years old or 20 odd years back, I don't know what it was going to be, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I think when I was in my 20s, I always had this, it's that naivety, I think. It's that it's going to be easy, it's going to be quickly, it's that arrogance of youth. And you've had all these wonderful aspirations that you'll get to this point, exit, sell and make zillions or billions.
Of course.
And the reality is very different, okay? Things always take longer than you anticipate, challenges arise. But one thing I realised relatively early on, I know it's a cliche, but it's not, the goal's never been to, I've realised earlier, it's not to exit, it's not to have that big malt number at the end, okay? Obviously we need to be living well and having a comfortable life. It's about ultimately enjoying the process, enjoying the journey. And over those 20 odd years, there have been some great times, there have been some tough times, but I really enjoy the journey and the challenge.
Absolutely.
That's what I've really enjoyed. And it's only now 20 odd years on with a lot of experience, you can see only the mistakes you made over the years. Yeah. But that's only with hindsight. But yeah, I love what I do. I love what I do.
But like, let's say 25 years, right? You said a lot of people will look at your company, they're like, accountancy, healthcare financing, offshore team in India, AI products being developed, and now you're going into aviation as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say this level of diversity is like, it's not great. Like a lot of people wouldn't do it.
Sure.
A lot of people wouldn't dare to do it.
Sure.
Why have you?
I have the benefit of experience and I also have the benefit of zero investors, okay? Everything I've done is bootstrapped, as they'd say. I've never got an equity investor in my business. Yeah. A few years ago, my wife's dental clinics, we got equity investors involved, and that turned out to be the right kind of pain. And we realised that wasn't right for us. Certainly wasn't right for me. Because I realised that you can be your most creative and you've got no pressure on you of shareholders to answer to.
Yeah.
It's being accountable to people is important and it's good, but I think ultimately you can be accountable to yourself and have high standards for yourself. You didn't mention also your own dental clinics. That's completely separate business and that's kind of mainly run by Samera, but that's our separate side of the business. But then on the Samera side, we've done Samera, as you said, accounting, financing, we're doing the offshore stuff, okay? And we're now at the point, as you said, AI we've talked about, and now we're going into aviation. Now, I'm a big believer in selling services or products of things that I've built or tested myself, as we've done throughout our career. Now you're saying, well, why have you gone to aviation? I have a son who's an aviation nut. and I thought, well, how could that sit into our frame of what we're offering? And so we had conversations and he's still studying at university. I said, well, I can already see in his mind, he's already got a business kind of angle in mind. And I thought, well, why not try and start that early? Get the relationships going. And so now we're doing aviation financing. So if anyone out there wants to buy a helicopter or wants to buy a plane of a Cessna or something, or a charter plane, whatever it might be.
Your next Gulfstream.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you sell a dental group, okay, and you want to buy something, let me know. We can finance it. And that's kind of what we're starting with. And I think longer term, it won't just be the financing side of things. There'll be other aspects, the aviation side, because he has quite kind of grand ambitions around that. Yeah. But the way to get into this is through finance, because we're already an FCA regulated broker. We can build the relationships. We think so. Next week, I'm off to Germany to an aviation event for a day to talk about planes. And I don't know much about it, but he knows a lot. He knows a lot. So it's kind of, and I think one thing is I've been reflecting, and you're from a business family, aren't you? And I'm sure your business, you have family business, you've had more streams, okay?
Of course.
And you have no, I imagine, I don't know, but I'm assuming you have no major investors apart from, it's your family.
Majority of it's family.
And that's the thing with when you have a family business, okay, you can choose your direction as you go.
Yeah.
And it might not make sense to a third party investor, okay, but there are other things much more important than the third party investor, i.e. your children, what they want to do, how they want to develop and stuff, and I think, if they want to do that. Now, the last thing I'm trying to do is force any business onto my children. That's the last thing. But it's an option for them. And that goes back to, in my view, and that goes back to the point you made right at the beginning about diversification. I've always believed that you always have to have, if one door closes, you always have another door open. And that's the key to business, okay? And I know people who've built very successful businesses, got to a point that suddenly economic disaster happens or something, some major client pulls and business folds completely. And they've got no other income stream, no other revenue stream coming in. And I remember there's a story of someone I knew who was doing a job for, what was it called? It was a big retailer here in the country. They were doing all their marketing. They had a massive project, really big project. One day that company, that retailer, literally, they weren't aware of it, went out of business, okay?
Like out of
business, just literally closed up, okay? And they had hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of fees due from them, okay?
Jeez.
Never got it. Their business closed down, they had to let go of staff, all of these things. So I'm a massive believer in not having all your eggs in one basket. Have lots of baskets, and some of those baskets might just trundle along slowly, but some of those baskets will work, explode.
It's kind of like Amazon, because like they have somebody who just experiments around things, and out of that came AWS and everything.
Yeah.
So would you say that's your brand? Because
experimentation,
life experience.
100%. I think. Well, I was talking to someone earlier today, and my first degree was engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. I went into finance, and now I'm back in the AI world. Now it's back to engineering. And what an engineer likes to do, honestly, this is what I love doing. And perhaps I'm my worst enemy in many ways. I love to build something, then take it apart, and then see if I can build it, make it even better. Now, sometimes when you try and make it better, it gets worse. Okay. You build a dodgier project, and I'm pretty good at that. Okay. Taking things apart and then destroying them and kind of ruining what I had in the first place. But that's part of life, okay, and I enjoy that. I really find that as a really interesting angle because it just stimulates new thoughts and new creativity. You can create.
But there must have been one idea where you went, okay, like I almost did this, but thank God I didn't. There must have been one at least where you must have been like, initially it sounded great, but then towards like...
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't really thought about it. That's something I have to think about. I can't think of anything at the top of my head.
You haven't really thought of anything?
No, nothing. I wish I didn't do it, basically.
That you didn't do it. Like you almost did it.
Yeah.
And then you said, you know what, this may not be a good idea now.
Yeah, well, that goes back to when I talk honestly about my wife's clinics and the intrigues. When we got investors involved and we went down the line and we got a 50-50 JV, it all went, and I realised once we were in it just wasn't us, okay? It just wasn't me, it just wasn't Samera. And we had a very great life, but we were always juggling 300 things at the same time, okay? And we love it all. That's what gets us. That's how we become our creative best. Now, some people might call that we're not very focused. I'd say it's completely the opposite. I think we're very focused individuals, okay? But we're spinning a lot of plates and we stretch ourselves mentally and kind of emotionally to a point sometimes which is kind of, oh my goodness. And I'm very lucky to have her. We're always pushing each other in different ways, but that's the charm of having a great partner, not just business partner, but a life partner like that.
So you would say like also, in terms of like all your business ventures and everything you've built so far, because you love to travel. Mm-hmm. You've visited many countries, you've explored so much in the world. Would you say like a lot of your experiences and everything just came from travel, your business ideas and everything?
I think a lot of it did, but I think also the most important thing that always drove it goes back to my childhood, to be honest with you, Budget, is my mother died when I was pretty young, and I missed out. From age 8 to 14, she was in hospital most of the time, cancerous issues. So I remember going to the Royal Hospital week by week, in and out in hospital. She died when I was 14, and that defined my life very clearly. Okay, when I have kids, okay, I want to be around them. So the first 10 to 15 years of the businesses, honestly, businesses were always second. Okay, I wanted to be a hands-on dad. I wanted to be there, picking my kids at school, drop them at school, take them to their dance lessons or sport or swimming, whatever it might be there, cook their dinner. And I've had that privilege to do that. I've been very lucky to be able to do that. I didn't have the headspace to do everything, but you know what, that's fine, okay? And now I see the next 10, 15 years for me to really do what I want to do, okay, in the business and see where it takes me and enjoy the journey, which I'm loving.
Which you're loving.
Yeah.
But would you say, I mean, in terms of, let's say, before you started all your business and everything, and after your mom Not possibly. Sorry to hear that story. You were in your, let's say, corporate life.
Yeah.
After university, you went down that direction. And you also would say that also played in a part. Like, I have all the money, all of this possible, but certain more, I won't be able to witness certain moments ever.
Correct. So that was a part time. So I trained as a chartered accountant at PwC, went into investment banking, and I was in my mid-20s, earning, honestly, a fortune, okay?
Okay.
An absolute fortune, big six-figure numbers.
No.
For someone my age, this is going back almost 30 years, so a lot of money, okay?
Must have been a smart guy.
I don't know about smart guy, but my dad didn't think I was. When I said to him I'm quitting, he said, "Are you bloody stupid? I've never seen that type of money.
Yeah.
You're earning more than I've ever earned in 10 years. You're earning that 1 year." Okay. But I hated it. I actually hated that kind of environment. I was never at home, always working, always pressure. And I also thought, and I saw some of my peers, or my seniors rather, I saw the quality of life. So that's what my life's going to be like. It's going to be a pretty crap life, okay? Yeah. It's all about money, and not seeing your family. It just went against everything that I wanted, okay?
Okay.
So I decided it wasn't for me, okay? And then that was the impetus to quit and Samera in that time. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with Samera. I just kind of thought, well, let me just start with an accounting firm. And then I realised Smith was a bit of a crap businesswoman. So I thought, let me start that. Let me start with dentist. And she was my first client. We're still married, so she's still my first client.
That basically drove everything else that came
Absolutely,
after that.
absolutely. It started all from that. It started from that moment onwards.
But let's say you also mentioned that when you spoke to your dad about leaving the corporate life, leaving all that money and everything. I mean, of course, because he would probably think like, why are you denying yourself all this and like, what's the thing? But now you've built something out of that. But I'm guessing that journey wasn't easy because as much as you would want to be around your kid's life but at the same time, you also want to focus on your business that gets to a level where it needs to be. How did you manage to find that?
In what sense, you mean?
Because you also wanted to be there for the moments with your kids.
Oh yeah, 100%. But when you don't have to answer to anyone else apart from your client,
sure,
you can be anywhere. Okay, I could be at the school rehearsals or school drop-offs or whatever, and I'll answer the emails later in the evenings. And that's the beauty when you're your own boss. You're accountable and you're responsible.
Yeah.
And you'll get the things done, but it's in your own time. So there are many times when my kids will go to sleep and then I'd work in the evenings. That's fine.
That's life.
That's fine. That's life. Yeah.
And you also said that the business suffered over the first few years because you wanted to be able to.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it suffered. I just didn't have the headspace to push it.
As
much as I could. Yes. Yeah.
So if you had to, after all this conversation, you had to look at someone and say, they ask you, what is Samera? What would you describe Samera as?
Great question. What is Samera?
What is Samera?
I guess if I had to say it is one big experiment of life. Some of my experiments work, some of my experiments don't work, and some of them explode as well. And that's the joy of when you're your own boss, you can be creative, you can try new things. I have the privilege to be able to do that.
And if you had to pick one thing that you've done over the last 25 years, that you say, like, you did it, and you didn't think it worked out exponentially, that you want to do again. Like, or like you're actually still doing it right now.
You know, the one thing that transformed our business, Kevin, is setting up our own operation in India. Okay. I wish I'd done that a long time back. Okay, I shouldn't have. I was using third party, but at the time, I guess I was fearful. Maybe again, I didn't have the time or headspace to do that. Young kids, I couldn't travel to India, that type of thing. But looking now forward, it enables so much now. It enables not just the AI development side of things, it's the accounting side of things. And we're just getting started, to be honest with you. Yeah. We're just getting started. And that's the exciting opportunity. We're a global workforce now. We're in a global world. Okay.
Yeah.
And I might be selling products to Canada or services to Canada or America, but I'm sitting here in the UK, but I have a team in India that can deliver it. You know what? That's exciting. I never thought I'd be doing that. And I love it.
One bad experience created a global workforce that
correct.
You now have.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. One tough experience when I couldn't find people and struggling, turned it around and set up my own team, had the confidence to set up in India, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, this is what every entrepreneur says. They always say that. Okay. But I appreciate you having this conversation with me about what the brand is, how did it come about, your whole story. Thank you so much for watching it, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.